are listening to or watching Keep It Weird, the podcast for all things strange and unusual, archaeological and scientific, kooky and crazy, and sometimes even nostalgic. Each week we get together and chat about something weird, and it's the best time of my life. This week sure is sad because it's officially the end of the year and the end of the season. This season, we talked about the apocalypse, liminal spaces, life after death, Stephen King, criminals we didn't quite disagree with, aliens, evolution, and even some movies that made us weird. I got to go to the coolest place and do the greatest paranormal investigation at the Limp Mansion. We told ghost stories, and we even turned silver into gold in our alchemy series. Today, it's time to talk about all the things we missed this year. The crimes, the science, the archaeological finds, and some of the strangest stories we didn't cover here on the main pod. So put on your dancing shoes, sing the blues. It's time for a 2022 year in review. My name is Ashley, and this is my co-host, Lauren.
Hello, weirdos.
So
what a fantastic
what
way
a day.
Close out that intro.
Yeah, with a little country girl coming out.
2022. End of the year.
End of the
which
year,
is
man.
insanity.
It's so crazy. When December switched over, I was like,
incorrect.
In what
wrong.
fucking world? I keep getting those like in your memories things on Facebook and Instagram, and like this time last year I was literally moving and I was like, there's no way that I've lived in Illinois for a year. There's no way.
I saw you post something about that and it just immediately like hit my brain. Like it was the biggest and weirdest trigger of, oh my gosh, she was moving at this time last year. And I remember recording our year in review like right before you left, and then we recorded like a little like Christmas snippet when I was in Pittsburgh. Like all of it just came flooding back, and it's insane. I feel like
it's
that
absolutely
was 2 months
crazy
ago. But here we are.
Merry
almost Christmas. Happy holidays.
Happy New Year 2023. Listen, before we get started, though, first of all, some very fun news. Every one of our Zoom party winners agreed to join us this year, and we had such a blast. We learned so much about each other. We got to share some hot goss. We got to talk about weird stuff. It was really, really amazing. So I just wanted to give a shout out and say thank you again to Justine, Jade, Lilo, all the way from Denmark, and last but not least, Jory. You guys are so lovely and so fun to hang out with.
Truly a pleasure to meet up with all of you. That was so fun. It just felt like talking to friends. So thank you for enjoying us and getting on the Zoom.
And coming, because I know that it probably felt very weird. Hopefully it stopped feeling weird almost immediately, because I feel like, once we got on there, it was like, oh, they're just idiots. But yeah, one day we'll have a big Keep It Weird camping trip, and we'll rent out cabins and tell ghost stories and look at the stars. But until then, we're just grateful that we get to be friends and keep in touch on social media.
Absolutely. It's so special.
And also, we might as well get to this. We are going to try and do some sort of Christmas episode. Not sure if we'll be recording in person. We only really get one evening together this year when Lauren visits. So I don't know if we'll spend it recording or if we'll just kind of want to enjoy each other's company. But
we might just want to hang out.
We might just want to see each other, guys. But if we don't record, we'll probably record something once Lauren gets back in Los Angeles. And I don't know if it'll be a listener ghost stories. It's kind of a bummer. We used to make a big deal out of our finales, and then COVID hit and we couldn't do anything. And then I moved. So
I know.
Now our finales are just like, okay, bye.
Okay, see ya. This was great.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, our big ghost investigations. Yeah, that used to be the big closeout, which was so fun. But yeah, we'll just see. Because I also just want to sit on your couch with you and chat with you.
Yeah, and watch a movie and eat popcorn and anyway, so show you champagne. So sorry, guys. But yeah, so we'll have one more episode, and then we will be taking our annual hiatus, which is a good thing because Lauren, congratulations. Lauren is going to be a teacher
I officially have a new job.
She's going to be a teacher. She's going to be molding the minds of young
Of
weirdos
little
all over the
ones.
valley. Or no, not the valley. Sorry. That was my stomping ground.
That
All
was
over
your
Los
hometown.
Angeles.
Yeah. Los Angeles, the West Side. Yes, I'm very excited. I finally got an official job. I feel like we've talked about it like here and there on the podcast. And also, we've been trying to like will it into existence
Yes.
on the podcast for a while. But finally, something pulled through that's a little more stable because I've gotten like part-time temp teaching jobs. And then obviously, I've been teaching music for years. But finally, like, a Monday through Friday teaching job. So very excited.
Yeah. Congrats. I'm so happy for you. Also, can I
Thank
say you
What?
look like incredible. I don't know if
I
it's because of the like the
ring
new
light.
hair, the ring light, the blush, the lipstick. I don't know, but I'm captivated by you,
thanks.
girl. You look
Oh,
amazing.
high praise coming from the beauty queen over there. But also, oh, if you can see this, if people are watching this at home, I guess it depends if we release this on video or not. Ashley has one of the best lip colors I've ever seen in my life.
Truly.
On her mouth right now.
Listen,
and everyone
I'll even
needs
show you what it
Beautiful.
is. Bing, bing, bing.
You're like a real influencer.
I am.
If you want lips like this.
I've always thought about doing like a makeup routine like influencers do, like TikTokers do, but that's not happening. No one needs to see how this happens.
I not gonna lie, I would love to see, but I also don't want to put you through that because I feel like it could be very difficult and not fun. So
maybe I'll do one of those where I like tell a weird story as I'm doing it.
But I also don't know how those people do that, those
Me neither.
influencers, because I feel like when I'm doing my makeup, I have to be like, and then,
yeah,
like
it's
I
not
can't
cute.
tell a story. No.
So, anyways, it's going to be nice to let Lauren ease into this new job without a podcast also on her shoulders. So, but please, in the meantime, follow us on social media at Keep It Weirdcast because we may do some recording in the time that we're off just so that we can be like ahead of the game come March when we come back. So we'll be asking you for your input and questions on our social media, and consider donating to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast, because even though we are on hiatus on the main pod, we'll still be releasing bonus episodes for you guys. And there's a backlog of like 50 to 60 bonus episodes there to keep you company in our absence. So highly recommend you join our Patreon, not only because you'll, won't have to miss us because we'll be posting episodes there, but also because it helps us produce the show. So
yes, please. Thank you.
I think that's it. Oh, I have one more thing. Is Britney Spears dead?
Oh my God, is she?
Have you seen the conspiracies going around right now?
No. I mean, I heard.
Okay.
I only know the usual stuff, but oh my gosh, what?
New developments. Her Instagram is gone.
Totally gone.
Try to Google or try to search. She's gone. She's off Instagram. Probably by the time this airs, she'll be back on Instagram and this will be pointless, but she's off Instagram. People are noticing that she hasn't been doing like Instagram lives or anything, but her husband that she just married, he's doing Instagram lives, but she's always off screen and it's just her voice coming in. And people are saying it sounds pre-recorded. Yeah, it's weird. And like there's all these different excuses as to like why she's not posting and why. And people are like, I think she's dead.
No.
How horrible would that be? I'm not even a fan of Britney Spears and I would burn the world down.
I will burn the city down.
Burn it to the ground.
Oh my gosh. Especially just after like everything she's been through and we're already all so concerned for her in the first place. And oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah, I just went to look up her Instagram, like, no way, I just saw it. It's gone.
It's gone, guys. It's gone. So yeah, if you get on TikTok, if you get on TikTok, I guarantee you scroll. I mean, if your feed is anything like mine, if your For You page is anything like mine, you will find the conspiracy that Britney Spears is no longer with us.
Yeah, this new guy that she married has been shady from the start, though.
I feel
like anytime he pops into the video, something is just off with him, and I feel like he's forcing her to do things anyway. So like, I am not a fan of this. Nope,
not a fan.
I don't like it.
Anyways, I've had enough of this old business. Let's talk about weird stuff. I want to start, Lauren, start us off with 2022's true crime.
True crime, bringing you some like little updates, like things that we may have brought up here and there, but also, yeah, stuff that we just didn't mention on the pod.
Yeah.
This year, I don't want to say there's never a good way to word this. I
I
never
know
want to
you want to
say
be like,
this was
was it a
a
good year
good
for
year.
crime?
Yeah, you knew exactly where I was going. It was not a good year ever. Like, I hate the things that happened, but man, I felt like there were a couple of years where, especially in our newsletter, when I'm making, my little true crime time posts for anybody who subscribes to our newsletter, I was struggling. I feel like in 2020, well, maybe because everyone was at home. And then in 2021, I was like, I cannot find any good stories. But 2022 has just been like, oh, which one should I even pick today out of the thousand? So I know that, I guess that's actually means it was a bad year.
It was a bad year for crime.
So many things happened. But so it's like, I'm not going to cover everything, but I wanted to hit some good headlines where we can. So Julia, my sister, is actually the reason for staying up to date with this case. Have you heard of the Delphi murder case?
Delphi murder case. Was that the two girls
in Indiana
that had like the guy on camera? Am I thinking of the
they went to the two girls who went to the bridge, like went
hiking?
Yes. And they like had him on their cell phone, like coming down the hill.
Because I saw like a bunch of people posting and was like, does anyone know who this guy is? Yeah. Okay.
On their phone. Yes. They had video of him. Yeah. So this is more of a little update. I don't know how I haven't talked about this, honestly, because this case is crazy, but Julia has been like sending me updates constantly and I've appreciated. But basically, police have arrested a suspect finally in connection to the 2017 murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. And they were two teenage girls found killed in the Delphi Historic Trails in Indiana 5 years ago in 2017. And it has taken them this long to finally convict someone. That's why this is coming back to the surface. And my sister has been going crazy. But a man named Richard M. Allen was charged with 2 counts of murder for the deaths of these girls, age 13 and 14, which is just a knife to the heart. On October 28th, finally, we're able to convict him. The 50-year-old was transported to White County Jail, where he remains without bond. It is said that Allen entered a preliminary plea of not guilty during his initial hearing, but I guess so much has happened and so much has come out that maybe even the wife and other family members knew and were hiding things from him. And also it has come out since that he was involved in the initial search party for these girls, which is creepy as hell and is like a local that everybody knows. So then there's all this scrutiny of like, how much has this guy just been being helped? Like, who knew something, who suspected something, but didn't give us information? So there is like a ton of scrutiny from the town and, all these locals in Indiana. So it's becoming quite a case. And actually a lot of the evidence and a lot of the things even being talked about in court are like super sealed off, like filed away. It's really hard to find anything on this case because of all of the outrage that is surrounding it now. But he was kind of caught on their cell phone footage right before the murder happened. I think he was just creeping on these girls as they were just trying to hike, and it's horribly sad. The parents pretty much immediately reported them missing because they're 13 and 14. And they were on the hike. And they were found the next morning. Both
were they sexually assaulted?
Yes. And I think the full details are not released. I think that's one of the things that are sealed. Don't completely quote me on that. But yeah, I don't think there's graphic detail, but it is believed that they were sexually assaulted. And then there was a lot of blood loss. Those are like the little vague details that we've been given. So it was horribly brutal. Like it rocked the town. Absolutely. And it took them 5 years to finally get this man who was part of the search party, a local man that was trusted by many people, and that's where we're at so far. And we're trying to kind of see who was helping him all along. There's probably going to be some arrests for accomplices very soon.
Well, yeah, it probably took 5 years because somebody was, covering, gave him an alibi. If you have an alibi,
that's what I'm saying.
What can they do?
Yep. So yeah, we're gonna kind of see what comes out with that. I don't know if I even wrote in my notes, I was like sad and gross.
Sad and gross.
I just hate it. Like this old 50-year-old man. What are you even doing?
But it would be fucking nice if the thing is, like, if he did do it, which it's seeming like he did.
Yeah.
Tell him.
I think.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know.
for sure.
I guess I'm not a murderer or a rapist, so I can't really
Thank goodness
say what's going through their heads, but
no, I'm just like, come on.
Shit.
It just makes me so upset. But yeah, so keep an eye on that if you're a true crime head. And then this one, I keep seeing this one on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen this, but the Idaho College students, the 4 college students.
I don't think I know this one. No.
Ooh, it's awful and like a weird mystery. I don't know. They have like nothing to go off of. Not nothing, but it's crazy to me that they haven't found this person because it's on a college campus. So, okay, here's the story. Police showed up to a house in Moscow, Idaho, in response to a call about a roommate who would not wake up on this college campus. And what they found was a horrific scene, basically straight out of a horror movie. And this happened just this year on November 13th.
Okay.
2 college kids had been stabbed to death in their bed on the 2nd floor of this house. And then 2 more also were stabbed to death, but just one flight up on the 3rd floor. While
it all happened in the same night.
Okay. While 2 other roommates slept quietly and remained alive for whatever reason on the 1st floor and didn't hear any of it.
I mean, you can't say that's crazy. Ted Bundy did that to women,
1000%.
Bludgeoned women and raped them, and their roommates had no idea.
Ugh. Which is just, to imagine being in the house, like just waking up and finding that.
I just know that like some people would immediately be like, well, it was obviously the fucking other roommates, but
totally.
No, not
necessarily. That's the thing is, of course, they got questioned. The ones who lived, it's like, well, you were there, but no, it was not them. But it's crazy.
God.
So the deceased were identified as Kaylee it's either Goncalves or Gonsalves. I'm not sure. It's I'm so sorry. But Kaylee, age 21, Madison Mogan, age 21, Zena Kernodle, age 20, and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin, age 20. So so young, so horrible. The 3 women lived there along with 2 other female roommates who survived, and then Chapin, the boyfriend, was an overnight guest. Autopsies concluded that all 4 deaths were homicides caused by multiple stab wounds. Police didn't specify who, but they said some of the victims did have defensive wounds. They had woken up during the killing and tried to save themselves. And then the other 2 poor roommates, Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen, were uninjured and again sleeping on the 1st floor. They were either awake and didn't hear the attacks or truly were sleeping through the whole thing, but they are not suspects in this. They actually just spoke on December 2nd, like just about a week ago during a vigil. And it's the first time they've spoken out since their friends were kids. And it's all over the internet. You can find it, but it's very sad just the way they're talking about everyone. Of course, typical, they were like the best people in the world. All 4 of these
lit up
students
a room.
were like the kind, walked in a room, it lit up, like kind, generous, just sounded like the most wonderful kids. So
I am going to start being a real piece of shit so that I either don't get killed or that no one can say that I lit up a room.
Lit up. Is that going to be the new trope? Like for horror movies, you will survive if you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, if you're just like, no one really likes her. It's like, well, she'll survive.
Oh, all right. She'll probably live.
Oh, she's not. Yeah, she's not beloved by all. Well, she won't. She won't die. That's horrible.
It's awful.
So this just happened in November of this year.
Yes. So it's brand new, which is why, that's part of the reason that they haven't found who did this yet. But also it's just, I don't know. That's so crazy to me. When there's blood everywhere, you'd think there'd be so much DNA evidence, and just being at a college campus, and some of them had been at a college frat party that night. And I'm just like, so many people like knew their whereabouts, would know if they had enemies, all of these different things. And so it's like, oh, this is going to turn into some crazy scandal where so-and-so was jealous of them, blah, blah, blah. But there's none of that. It's sort of like, oh, nope, we're still working on it, but we don't have any like major
breaks.
Leads. Damn. Apparently there even was one of the roommates had been being stalked, I think like a year prior to this. So of course they looked into that person right away, but they either had like an airtight alibi or I something along the lines of like I don't know, maybe the DNA didn't match or something. It was something that it was definitively not them. Because of course you'd think, well, definitely look into
Yeah,
the
well,
stalker, but it's definitely this person who stalked them. But of course, TikTok, similar to the Gabby Petito story, everyone, all the social media sleuths are out there going crazy and posting their theories and
yeah.
trying to post things that they
I
know
can't
about
believe I
these
haven't
kids
seen
in
about
Idaho.
this.
I know. I was
Nothing.
shocked. But again, I mean, it is very recent.
True.
So anyway, the Moscow police who have, been super dedicated to this are really trying to control all of the rumors and are going pretty crazy about it because I guess it's getting like kind of out of hand, similar to Gabby
Yeah.
Petito, where it's like, okay, you can only do so much. And everyone's like, well, it's definitely this girl that kind of looked at her weird once in 2018.
Well, and you also don't want any sort of retaliation to happen
No.
to innocent people that
Right.
didn't have anything to do with it, but someone on the internet said that they did, and
now they could get
someone threw a
attacked for
brick
something
through their house or hit him in the head. You know what I mean? Like
horrifying.
mob
Yeah.
mentality. It can get kind of scary.
That is so true. So they're trying to keep it controlled as much as they can and, are investigating night and day. But here we are weeks later. We still are not sure who is responsible for these 4 young bright lights from Idaho. So we're going to stay tuned.
Well, and it's weird too. It doesn't seem like one person was the target. Because you go in and kill that person, and maybe you kill multiple people in the house if they caught you, but it sounds like they were all in their rooms. It sounds like they were all in their individual rooms.
Like trying to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It could really be a Ted Bundy situation where they found a house with the back door unlocked.
Right.
And they were like, I'm going to kill as many people in this house as I can.
I know.
A fucking nightmare.
Such a nightmare. I mean, I feel like that's almost, that's scarier to think it was just a guy who found an unlocked door. Yeah. And was like, oh, I'm bored and on a college campus and have the urge to kill.
I'm glad I'm a light sleeper.
I know. I would 100% wake up.
Joe will sleep through a tornado ripping apart the house. And
you would have to be like carrying him
the fridge
cradled
on the other side of the house, I'm like, who
is that?
Who? Yeah.
Who? Where? I'm the exact same.
Can't kill my roommate.
I would wake up.
God, that's horrible.
But again, it's like some of these kids had defensive wounds, so I'm like, they did wake up and still couldn't fight them off. So then I'm like, okay, is it like a big burly man?
Multiple people? Was it more than one guy?
Yeah. Honestly, was it a team? I have so many questions, and I'm like, by the time this comes out, like maybe we will know.
Maybe we have answers.
So also, like, sorry if we're behind when we release this, but yeah. So the
when
Idaho
we release
killings.
this in 2 days.
I guess that's true. But
damn you, 24-hour news cycle.
Anything could happen. They're gonna beat us to it. This one is obviously a very well-known case, but I feel like we have to mention it. Adnan Syed.
Yeah, holy moly.
Released from prison, which is just, it's crazy because it's not even like, oh, like the appeal is finally going through and we're gonna, it's straight up just like he's out. He got out. I felt like for so long it was paperwork and waiting around and trying to submit more appeals, but he is straight up out and on house arrest, I still believe. Because there's still a lot of things that have to happen.
Still a lot of unanswered questions too.
Of course, until he's officially free. Yeah.
Well, I wonder, does that mean that the case is reopened?
I believe so, because what I saw, which I didn't even think I heard this in the initial headline. I think I was just celebrating that he was out, but new DNA evidence supported his innocence and reopened an old theory. So to me, that is saying that like they're exploring
what's his
somebody
friend's name
from long ago. Jay.
Jay. I never had a good feeling about Jay.
It's so bad that I'm like, I pray that it's Jay, because when I was listening to the Serial podcast that we all know this case from, I remember every week being like, it's Jay. It's definitely Jay.
It's kind of cool that, I'm sitting here on my podcast talking about Adnan Syed being released from prison when Serial was the very first podcast I ever listened to.
Same.
Like I kind of knew they existed, but I never ever listened to one before.
Me
and now
either.
I have my own.
And now we have our very own. I know. And we were talking about that case.
Yeah.
And what's her name who charmed all of us, Sarah Koenig?
Sarah Koenig. Did you ever see the SNL serial sketch, the Christmas
Cecily
one?
Strong.
Yeah. Cecily played. She did such a good Sarah Koenig. I loved it.
Nailed the impression. It's funny to think of those times, but Adnan, he's out, and there's new DNA evidence, and we're gonna.
Congratulations, Adnan. I hope to God you didn't do it.
I know. Now, after all of the celebrations, like, please don't make us feel a fool.
Mm-hmm.
We want to believe that
because I was really rooting for you. We were all rooting for you.
Tyra. Also, another just mention big case, but Lori Vallow, obviously, so much happened with her this year because of Sins of Our Mother, the documentary being released, and all of that.
Where's that case at?
Honestly, I didn't find. Well,
I'm pretty sure the last time I looked it up, her trial was moved to January of 2023.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, am I? Yeah. For a second, I was like, wait, did I end up writing that in my notes? Yes. I think when I tried to find an update, it was like, it's the same stuff that all of us know. Like everything's kind of been pushed into the new year. And that I think that will definitely be an interesting trial. But basically, the big bombshells of this year and the reason to bring it up in our 2022 updates is because the documentary Sins of Our Mother came out. And Ashley, I think you and I agreed on this. It was insane just to find out what fully was going on with her, because I didn't know how into the cult that she was. I knew she had some strange beliefs and delusions, but I didn't. Then you brought up that she actually was like following the belief of a cult, and that is why she thought
she was following the belief of the, like, what was it, 33,000 or 133,000?
Is it that? Yeah,
133,000, I think, which was a belief of specifically the Church of Latter-day Saints at first, until they got more than 133,000 members, and then they were like, or more, we don't know, maybe it's more.
Well, we have to make up a story now.
Yeah, when I watched that documentary, I didn't learn anything new necessarily. I kind of knew all the beats of the, like, what had taken place in the case.
Yeah.
But it was wild to actually see like the body cam footage of the police and like hear her talk about the things that had happened and hear her, because I'd never like heard her voice. I'd seen photos of her, but like to like actually hear recordings of her voice talking to people, and like especially her friend who was like, why did you tell the police I had your daughter? Like, I don't have her. Like, why would you tell them that? That first of all, you're trying to get me in trouble. I don't have them. And also, where are your kids?
Yeah, that, I think that was the hardest part about watching and listening to the documentary as a whole, was hearing both family members and friends kind of pleading with her, like, where are your kids? Please, I don't understand, like, this,
like, we'll take them, like, if
I'll help you out if you need this.
And they're fucking dead. What a
killed. And just hearing it's so evil. So that is also upsetting. But I mean, we've known the details of the case for a while and I've talked about on the show. So yeah, again, that wasn't new, but I think hearing her be a human and seeing her humanity before this turn came about, that was the hard part of the documentary, because I feel like it was showing brief moments of like, you were seemed like a normal mom, and you were
her
a good
oldest son who's still alive. Like hearing him talk about it and just being like, this is my mom. Like, this is my mother. These are my this is my brother and sister. Like, I don't understand what's happening. I can't imagine what he has to deal with. That's so wild. Hey, did Bob Durst die this year?
Yeah.
Bobby.
That's true. That was a lot happened.
A lot happened this year. Bob Durst is gone. Bobby Unfortunately, Durst. I kind of wish he was still alive, because I wanted to see, his various trials
for sure
play out, but whatever.
We all wanted to hear more deets and see how that all went down.
I also really hoped for some sort of deathbed confession, to where his wife is or where her body is.
Yeah,
because
we
we all
didn't have
know you did it.
all of the
Probably.
answers. Killed
We
them
all know
all.
you either did killed them all. We all know that either you did it or you know who did it.
Yep.
Would have been cool if you told us.
We
You
would have
the
really
fucking
enjoyed
bucket.
that.
We
But,
really
you
enjoyed
know,
that, Bob.
you kicked the it is kick the bucket,
Kick the
not
bucket.
kicked the can.
That's a game. Before you kick the can and then
Well,
kick the bucket.
did you hear Bobby Durst kick the
Maybe
can?
maybe he had a heart attack while playing kick the can. We don't know.
We're not sure what went down. Yeah. Bye to Bobby Durst.
Bye, Bob.
Just recently, again, of cases we already know about, with Gabby Petito, which we covered. We had so much coverage on our finale of 2021. Yeah, it was like all Gabby. So obviously we know how that all played out and ended, and that was big last year. But just recently, it looks like it happened maybe just a month ago. Gabby Petito's family finally received closure on at least one of their legal battles when a Florida judge awarded Gabby's parents $3 million after they reached a settlement in the wrongful death lawsuit against Brian Laundrie's estate. So it's not like a win. I mean, they lost their daughter,
Right.
and Brian is a piece of shit. And again, like the cowardly way of leaving the earth before you have to face any charges. We've talked about that on the show before, but I know we didn't get a lot of closure in those ways or satisfaction, but they were awarded $3 million. It was a total arbitrary number, but the money will go towards Gabby Petito Foundation, which aims to address the needs of organizations that support locating missing persons. Because I think that was the biggest thing of this case is, you know, just getting better at that, and that sometimes more money needs to be thrown at it. But
especially since in the search for her and her, remains, we found like 3 other bodies that had been missing for who knows how long. Well, some people know how long. I don't know how long, but like we found 3 other missing people, like the remains of 3 other missing people. It's like we could probably dedicate more money to this, I would think.
1,000%.
Yeah, more resources, maybe.
And then the Murdaugh murders, which was another one that I brought up last year. And Ashley, you brought it up recently too, because you and Joe were doing a deep dive, I believe, as well. Yeah, watching the doc. What's that called again? I want you to do a plug.
Low Country.
Low Country, yes.
It's on HBO.
So Low Country, everybody should check that out because again, it's one of these murder stories that just, it sounds like a movie. It sounds like a television show, a scripted television show.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it if someone didn't tell you it was all real and it really happened.
Rich family dynasty type things down in the South, in South Carolina, where the reason I also bring it up is because you should go watch the documentary Low Country, but also the trial is about to start. I think because of the holidays, it'll probably get pushed into January, but they're in like pre-trial discussions right now for Alex Murdaugh finally going into trial for all of the shady shit that has been happening around him.
All the money he stole and
all of the money,
people he killed,
the people he almost definitely killed.
He murdered.
Yes. And I guess from what we're finding out, the little bits and pieces from the pretrial is that there are like some graphic, horrific details coming out about some of the murders that I guess haven't been totally just splashed across the news, that like they were talking about it in the pretrial because it was like, will jurors be able to handle this type things? Where I was like, what is going on? I know, totally. Which I mean, that'll be the discussion. You could. I want to say that I could because I've always said how fascinating to be on a murder case and be a juror on it. But I think if a photo or video was graphic enough, I would vomit.
Oh, yeah. I forget that they have to watch like videos and stuff. I know a person, I can't dox them. I know a person who, what's the head of the jury called? Like there's always like a lead person.
The person who stands up.
On the jury.
I forget their name, but they have to. I was like,
I know a person who did that. A lot of times you get signed on to do that for like a year or something. 4-person, yeah.
Or presiding juror. So it's called both, but
maybe it's presiding juror. But I know someone who did that who had to do like multiple cases over the course of a year. And a lot of the cases they had to juror was child pornography cases.
Oh.
And in those cases, they do show evidence. And
because you have to.
There's no way I would be able to do that.
No.
Absolutely not. I wouldn't be able to sleep. But every time I close my eyes, I wouldn't be able to. I would not be able to.
My gosh. Yeah. I mean, those were the major things I wanted to talk about in true crime. Because again, it's
all big cases.
Big things that had all had updates too, which big stuff. 2022 was a big year. Yep.
Well, this year's archaeological discoveries are insane. Absolutely insane. And they just keep coming.
It never stops. That's what's crazy is I feel like a good amount have been posted on our Facebook group, but then the next day you're like, wait, there were 7 more.
You'd think eventually we'd find all the stuff that's buried, but it turns out there's a lot of buried shit. So I'm going to cover just 4 really major ones. One, earlier this year, archaeologist Zahi Hawass and his team set out to find the mortuary temple of King Tut. They began searching an area of Luxor where Tut's successors had built their mortuary temples, thinking, hey, maybe they're in the same place. But his temple does remain unfound to this day. However, they didn't leave empty-handed because, holy shit, they found an enormous city that had been built 3,400 years ago, has been underground for over 1,000 years. And this city is wild. First of all, it's in excellent condition. It's huge. It's over half a mile that's been uncovered so far, but they think it stretches all the way to the Pharaoh's palace, which is 2 miles away.
What?
And the cool part about it being in such good condition is that it offers us a really cool look at the life of Egyptians at that time. Yeah. So, spoiler alert, it's a lot like ours in the sense that there were industrial areas that were separated from residential areas. So they found an ancient bakery. Tell me why that made me feel with joy. They found a
little bakery,
and they found
local families would walk there for their Saturday breakfast. Okay.
They found multiple workshops with different specialties. One was specifically for producing mud bricks to build temples. One was specifically a workshop to produce amulets, stuff like that.
Amulets.
And then separate from the industrial part of the city, the other part of the city was all houses and living areas. And they are calling this the Golden City of Luxor because it's giving us a look at ancient Egyptian life during a boom of wealth and resources. This is quite possibly the largest city ever uncovered. We won't know until, obviously it's completely dug up, but the city was ruled by Amenhotep III during a time of peace, which means he was never at war. He didn't have to pay for armies. So all he had to do was kind of sit back and count money for 40 years, and he was constantly building. So anytime you have a wealthy ruler, at least back then, not so much today, anytime you have a wealthy ruler, the distribution of wealth was great. I mean, the cities were growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, thriving.
And archaeologists have known that this place should exist for over a century. They figured that the Amenhotep would have funneled his riches into a city structure, but they had no idea where it was. And they found it on accident.
Oh my God. I can't believe they were just
dream.
Oh, whoops.
Oh,
here it is.
What's this? I know.
Whoopsie daisy. We just hit a huge ass
gold mine. I know.
It's in perfect condition. That is so cool.
It's so freaking cool. This one's kind of cheating because it was found in 2019, but it wasn't reported on much until this year. And as of this year, they've opened it to the public. But I had to include it because it's just as cute as the ancient bakery. But it was discovered in Pompeii. It's a fast food restaurant, Lauren.
What?
It's an ancient McDonald's.
You found a Mickey D's?
A Mickey D's in the middle of the desert. Yeah, apparently Joe knew this. Of course, Joe knew this. I don't know
Of
why I
course
use
Joe
that
knew.
as like
Yeah, that's not even
a
I can't
qualifier.
believe.
Like,
Did you know Joe? You know,
did
of
you know
course he
Joe
did.
knew? Of course he did. But apparently,
Stupid
fast
Joe.
food was very popular in the ancient Roman world, and there have been many fast food restaurants found. But this was the first time a hot food and drink eatery was like completely unearthed. It was in such good condition. The site is now open to the public, like I said. So if you visit Pompeii, you can literally walk through this little ancient Roman Taco Bell, and they will even show you a menu of what they likely served based on the artifacts and excavations they found inside and close to the building.
That's
And
adorable.
apparently, this particular restaurant was the mecca for a tasty dish known as honey roasted rodents.
Oh, what a delight.
No acquiring for taste, Pompeii.
You know what?
Gross.
You had to work with what you had, but also disgusting.
But also, I can't.
Honey roasted
rat.
Was there a
Moving.
drive-through?
Yes, there was a there was a carriage through.
Carriage through.
Put the rodent. You just hold the roasted rats by the tail and like hold them out the window. I do picture every ancient city as the Flintstones.
Of course.
So.
Yep. They're just wiggling those tootsies along the ground.
Beep, 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 beep. I can't make a Flintstone sound. Moving way, way, way out of the Middle East. Earlier this year, a research team found a sunken ship that's been missing for a century. A famous sunken ship that's been missing for a century. Endurance was last seen in 1915 by British explorer Ernest Shackleton and his team of 27 men. They were attempting to explore the Arctic and make it to the South Pole, but problems arose, as they usually did on these types of explorations.
On these journeys.
They had to stand in the frozen tundra and watch their ship sink into the ocean. And this was after they sat on the damn ship and camped on the ice for 10 months because the ship was stuck. And they were there waiting for it to thaw so they can begin their expedition again. But in the spring, which, fun fact, was actually September because it was the South Pole, the pressure of the shifting ice began to warp and instead crushed and twisted the boat's frame and sunk her right on down.
Yikes. Yikes.
Huge
spikes.
fucking bummer. The ship was fully gone by November 21st, 1915, and then Shackleton managed to rescue his entire crew. All 28 men survived and were rescued in 1917, which means they spent another almost 2 years out there in the freezing cold trying to make it on lifeboats and like hiking back.
Wait.
Yeah.
28 members survived for 2 years.
More than that, because they had been on the boat for 10 months.
Oh my God.
As it was frozen.
So 3 years.
So 3 years. And then who knows how long they were sailing before they got stuck. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How do you even, what did they survive? I have so many questions. I want to know how they survived.
Old school explorers are no fucking joke, man. Like, I cannot believe the shit they did. I won't even fly American. Like, I won't even fly American Airlines. Won't do it. They're the worst. I can't. And I can't fly American. And they were like, we have to discover the South Pole.
Oh my gosh.
Like, good for you. I would have never fucking done that. But
no, I never would have made it. That is phenomenal. That is so
it's incredible.
Yeah.
He's so impressive. But this is cool too, actually, and proof that Shackleton was an amazing man, as everyone said he was. Sure. Years later, in 1921, he set out on another expedition of the Antarctic, and even though some of his former crew members had not received all of their pay from the Endurance expedition, can you fucking imagine surviving that and then not receiving your full pay for 4 fucking years?
It's not okay in the slightest.
My eye twitches back. My eye twitch came back from that.
You can't go through all of that and not get paid.
Insane. Anyway, even though some of them hadn't received their full pay yet for the Endurance expedition, many of them still signed on with their former boss for the next trip. Like how? Why? How?
Why would you ever trust that man again? Why?
Well, I mean, you would trust him because he literally
'cause he
saved
saved
your
you.
fucking
I mean,
life.
true, but I'd be like, I don't know if I
I
think
just
you have
wouldn't
good
go
fortune.
again.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
be
I'm
like,
just like, I don't think
listen,
we're gonna have good
I'm
luck.
busy that summer.
Yeah, I don't. I have a vacation planned already. I have to see the kids.
My vacation days are saved up, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I've
use
been meaning to
them
use
and
those
go to
personal days.
Aruba. Fuck
Yeah,
you.
I wouldn't want to go again. No, 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 no.
Unfortunately, it was on this next trip in 1922 when Shackleton died. He had had a heart attack before even making it to the icy seas of the Antarctic. So that is a bummer. But
that is sad.
Even though we had a detailed account of this route that we would find the ship on, the location has been a mystery for a century until this year. Someone, the team that located it, basically, they guessed at where it would be, and they were 4 miles off. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all.
How are you that good at estimating?
But that's still like, hey, Ashley, find something. It's a 4 mile radius from here. I'd be like,
right.
I
don't.
What do I win?
Yeah. What am I getting out of this?
What am I getting out of this? Because it's still located in the Arctic, the freezing temperatures have kept the ship in damn near perfect condition. Marine archaeologists have even said this is the finest wooden shipwreck they have ever seen by a lot.
Okay.
So this year they've been studying and filming the ship. They've released some content on TikTok and on their website. They even had like live streaming events, which seemed super cool, where you could like go down with them. They also took a ton of footage for a full-length documentary that National Geographic had initially said would air this fall, but I don't think that happened because I can't find any information on it past the announcement of the documentary back in March and April, but I assume it's still in the works. So
yeah.
They've also been able to
heard about this.
I feel like we would, and I feel like a quick Google search would have provided me with something, but I couldn't find anything anywhere. So, oh well. They've also been able to learn a lot about climate change and how the Arctic is affecting our weather today by studying the ship and the location in which it was found. And marine biologists have made discoveries as well based on the amount of marine life living off of the shipwreck. Very, very, very cool.
All the little creatures and things that have grown. I like it.
And last but not least, perhaps the greatest discovery in 2022 was from a team of archaeologists working in the ancient necropolis of Saqqara, not far from Cairo, Egypt. So in March of this year, researchers had unearthed some tombs here that dated as far back as 2700 BC. And they were like, okay, there's obviously going to be more buried here. Let's dig, boys.
Yeah.
So they dug. Let's go. They dug. And not only did they find over 300 coffins, 100 well-preserved mummies, they also found a previously unknown Egyptian queen who we now know was named Neith. And this totally rewrites the history. This totally rewrites history as we know it, especially since we believe the Egyptian record to be pretty well documented. I mean, it's like the most well documented ancient civilization that we know of.
Yeah.
So to have this entirely new queen with an enormous tomb and pyramid that we had no idea about is kind of wild.
Insane.
They found 22 interconnected tunnels in this tomb, and most of the bodies so far have been the remains of King Tut's generals and advisors. They say all the coffins have individual faces, each of them unique. All of them are decorated with scenes from the Book of the Dead. Each coffin also has a name of the deceased, which is, part of the reason we know who these people are specifically. Yeah. Other finds in the area have been the mummy of a woman with a solid gold mask. Cha-ching. That's a nice little prize.
Solid gold.
Gaming
like the real
pieces,
deal gold.
Like the real deal. Solid gold. Gaming pieces for ancient games, a massive limestone sarcophagus, and even a soldier buried with a metal axe in his hand.
Okay.
So that's
what
a big
a find.
What a find.
Freaking find.
Again, kind of an accident. Like they didn't know it was there.
Oopsie doopsie.
Oopsie poopsie. We found an entire pyramid and tomb.
And some solid gold, y'all.
Because I
Wait,
think this was the one that when they found it, they thought it had to be Cleopatra.
yes. Okay. That was literally what was about to come out of my
And they were
mouth
like, holy
was this
shit,
the
we
one?
found, yeah, Cleopatra's tomb. And then it was like, nope, just
Oh,
another
no.
queen that we've
Some
never
other
heard of.
queen. And my other question was going to be because I saw a little bit of something of this on TikTok. That is what educates me these days. Was
Yeah.
this the queen who they did like a restructuring of her face digitally and were
Ooh,
able
I
to
don't
find out what she
know.
probably looked like? I don't know. That could have been another dig. There were so many,
I know there's
but
so many. I had to whittle it
yeah,
down to 4 because
right.
the list was so long.
Wow. I love it.
I know. Keep digging,
I keep
friends.
digging, everybody. I,
Don't
again, it was
stop.
like,
You're digging.
dig, go until you see the gold. I only want the ones with solid gold.
Yeah.
I
Only
was
solid
gonna
gold mummies for me.
another one I just threw this on my notes because I knew you were going to talk about digs, but one of my favorites, and it's literally just the headline, I'm not diving into this, but one of my favorites was the 30,000-year-old baby woolly mammoth that was discovered in Canada. Did you see that?
It's legitimately so adorable.
Like I had to comment on it. It's like it just looked like a little baby elephant.
I
Oh,
know, little
I
baby
can't breathe.
fluffy elephant.
I thought that was a fun find.
Yeah,
Thank you,
that is a
Canada.
fun find. I'm
But
really
also, yeah,
upset that we lost the woolly mammoths.
me too. They seem
There's a
lovely.
bunch of things where it's like dinosaurs that wouldn't work out, you
No,
know?
I mean, we wouldn't be here. We'd be getting
No.
stomped on and eaten every day.
Even like saber-tooth tigers probably wouldn't work out.
Ooh, yeah,
Saber
they'd rip you
wolves,
to
those seem pretty
shreds.
dangerous, but like woolly mammoths,
I
they're
feel like
so
they
cute.
just wanted to coexist and be a
Yeah,
part of
I
life.
actually think that they were like extraordinarily dangerous creatures, but you know,
The fantasy
put them somewhere we're not.
that
put
we
a,
can like know
ship
they
them to
exist.
Alaska.
They're binoculars. We know that.
Yeah,
Are we, because we've been talking about it so much on accident, are we jumping into TikTok or
TikTok.
science? The
No, let's
TikTok,
do TikToks.
the tic tac toe, as I called it.
Baba Black Sheep incident.
Baba Black Sheep incident. Yep.
What did
Good
you
times.
learn on TikTok this year?
I mean, many things. Again,
Same.
you really have to cut
All
down
the
the
things.
list.
What did I learn this year? Where did I learn it? TikTok.
TikTok. Besides air fryer foods, which if you have an air fryer, man, TikTok has the
I'm
best
getting
recipes.
one for Christmas.
I'm so excited for you. It has
Yeah.
made my life so much easier. You can truly cook an entire dinner in the air fryer and
Oh, and I
it's
will.
just and yeah, I can and I will. TikTok has thousands of recipes and I just have them all favorited. So I love that. And also there's a section that makes me a better witch, which like shout out Laura LaRue, our resident witch.
Laura,
She gives me the most advice, but some of the
who
things,
has announced, so I feel like we can announce it
oh
here,
yeah,
is expecting a baby.
baby. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Oh, we're so happy for her. It's amazing. A resident green witch, Laura, expecting a child. So, A, freaking congrats because that is the best news ever. But
Yeah,
B,
we're so
also,
excited for her.
you can follow Leaves and Laura on Instagram and she teaches you witchy
Please
things.
do.
But there is a whole witch talk of side of TikTok, which I also love to follow. And it's taught me how to make potpourri, which is really cool, just to like bring
Yeah.
some nice scents. And then like different soups and spells that you can make on the stovetop. But this was a really interesting one that I thought was worth mentioning because I tried it and it worked for me, but huge like warning disclaimer, this is not real medical advice and you should always take medication if this is what your doctor says for you, but it's interesting.
Good disclaimer.
A couple of different TikTokers out there who talk openly about mental health and panic attacks I saw a few of these where it was saying, I cope with panic attacks by eating really super sour candy. So sour that your brain is not going to be able to focus on anything else but the sour taste in your mouth. And
Yes.
whatever is hitting your taste buds is, sending things to your brain, different signals, and mixing you up enough and shocking your body enough to kind of forget the panic, to slow your breathing, and your focus totally goes to something else, which all makes sense. But I was still like, that just seems crazy. So you get the sour candy. It's really sour for a while, and then at the very end it sweetens up and you've calmed down. And there was a specific brand that people were even promoting. So they're like, Warheads can work if you get like the extra sour ones, but there is one that you can buy on Amazon. It's like always available, very cheap. It's called Toxic Waste Sour Candy. And it's like next level. Your mouth is going to be on fire for a hot second sour.
I feel like if I opened my mouth and bent over right now, so much liquid would spill from it, because as you're talking about the sour candy, my mouth is watering so much. Like, we have to stop
just from the thought of it. Yeah.
God.
It like triggers almost like the back of your tongue. Yeah. That's
like
where you
underneath
feel the
my
sour.
tongue, it's just like pool. I just spit on my computer. Like,
there was actively spit.
This is untenable.
It's crazy sour, guys. Yeah, it's making the back of my tongue tingle. You're totally right. But it is that shock value and distraction attacking your mouth to divert from the panic attack. So it's fascinating.
Brilliant.
It works for people on TikTok. I actually did try it. I didn't buy Toxic Waste yet. I'm kind of scared because the bag just looks intense.
Warheads
and it's called
are
Toxic Waste.
Fucking sour enough for me, dog.
Warheads were just fine. I even got lemon flavored warheads. So it was sour on top of sour on top of sour. And I was carrying them around in my purse because I was like, well, I get panic attacks and anxiety, overwhelming feelings of anxiety quite often. And I was having one when I was about to walk into a doctor's office. So I popped a sour candy in my mouth and it truly did calm me. To be fair, it wasn't a full panic attack. I feel like I need to say that first. I've had those before where it's like I actually like need a doctor to save me because like my breathing is so irregular. But this one was just, I was starting to hyperventilate a little where my fingers stiffen up and my mouth and tongue get a little numb. It was that kind. And I was able to open my like butthole shaped mouth because of the like tension, just enough to pop the sour candy in, and it like released everything. I always call it my butthole to Alex because he's witnessed it so many times and he's like, oh no, your mouth is getting stiff. And I'm like, yep, I'm in full butthole. And so I popped the sour candy in
mouth.
And the tears were coming out of my eyes from how
Good
sour
Lord.
it was. And my mouth like loosened up and my breathing, evened out, and it really did help. So I think there's something to it.
I want to hear from because I have heard a lot of TikTokers talk about it, but I haven't heard any like medical professionals talk about it. And I want to hear, I just want to hear them talk about the mechanics of it. Like, is it that it does sort of release the tension in your muscles, which allows you that moment of like what is it that is it just a distraction? Like, I'm not sure, but I've heard from a lot of people it works. So whatever works, do it. It's cheaper than Xanax.
It's for it. Exactly. But again, take your medication if you need to.
Take your meds.
Ashley, this one is for you. I feel like I always have one where I'm like, this is just for you. But it's so cute. Actually, we have a lot of animal lovers in listening to this podcast.
Nope, I'm the only one.
Nope, only you. Felicia Wilson _85 is the username. She calls herself the real life Snow White on TikTok, and her whole life is animals. She saves so many animals. She's advocating for animals. Like, she's one of those fabulous people. She just seems amazing. So she taught TikTok how to become an animal transporter. Did you know this is a job?
Oh, like when you transport them across the country when they get like adopted? Yeah.
And sometimes if you'd have to go through a lot of training, but you can also transport animals from like zoos and animal sanctuaries to new, safer,
I know exactly who you're talking about. I have seen her on TikTok,
she's
like feeding a baby wolf or some shit.
Yeah.
That she's like holding like a
and she knows how to calm every creature. That's why she's called the real life Snow White, because she's cradling these wild animals that could possibly like kill somebody else. And she's like, they love me.
I really do believe that some people, you know how like dogs will growl at certain people and like I'm immediately like, what's wrong with you? And like some people are just like really good with horses or really good with cats or really good. I really do think that your state of mind and like the vibes that you give off, some people are made to work with animals because their vibes are immaculate. So I think that if
the best energy
is truly, she's got some crazy good energy if she's able to work with these wild animals in the way that she does.
Totally. So she's just a good follow on TikTok because she's interesting and just really entertaining to watch, and she'll teach you so much about animals. But B, the thing that hashtag TikTok taught me was that you can have this as a job, to be an animal transporter, whether it's an animal that was adopted and you're taking it to its new home, or a wild animal leaving a zoo or an animal sanctuary and going to, you know, a new environment where it's going to be safe. And you're meeting professionals or the new family adopting the animal on site, and you have those connections, but you are the one kind of gathering them and taking them on their travels across the country. So I thought that was so interesting that it was,
and there's nothing an animal likes less than getting
being
in
a vehicle.
Yeah. So
you have to be a
God
special
bless her.
person. Yeah. You have to be a
Really
special
do.
person to do the job. And yeah, I think it would take some training, but yeah.
Do you know about therapy horses?
I mean, I know them in the sense that, especially for people on the spectrum, they are like really therapeutic. I only know of them in that way, but
there
what
are
do
a
you
couple
know?
places that are like horse riding and horse care facilities that specialize in specifically PTSD. So a lot of soldiers that come back from overseas who have seen action and who are suffering from PTSD come and work with these horses. And the horses, I guess the connection horses have to people because of generations and generations, I mean, centuries of working alongside people, much like dogs, but horses even more so because they were our transportation. They were our, you know, for so long we hunted with them. And people who ride horses professionally will tell you that there is like a brain connection between you and your horse that you're riding. If you're not just like going through the canyon, like you're actually a you know, person who rides horses. And this place, they take care of the horses. So they, you know, they wash them when they need washed, they brush them every day, they ride them, and it actually helps them to trust people again. It helps them to deal with stressful situations. Working with these horses like changes their life.
That is phenomenal. I love that.
Yeah. So if you're someone who suffers from something, anxiety, PTSD, if you're autistic, if you're looking for something, look into animal therapy because it's real. And I completely believe it, especially if you're a person who's like, therapy doesn't seem like it's for me. Like, I feel you. I actually am not a huge fan of therapy. I haven't had a good experience. So try animal therapy.
Yeah, this could be a good way to step into it. And again, it was like, I didn't even know how deep it went with the PTSD, but I love what it does for children who fall on the spectrum and, you know, children with autism who they also have trouble trusting people and, you know, enjoying. So having the communication skills and even enjoying social situations at all. And I think horses give them that trust and give them that comfort. And that's so amazing. Horses just heal the world.
They're amazing.
That's great. My last story that I found, I of course had to do something true crime related, but there's a whole true crime talk, of course, out of TikTok. Naturally. And I hear usually updates on stories that I already know about, but I had never heard of this before. And it's a true crime story with a hilariously weird twist at the end. So,
oh boy.
In 1993, this is how it all began. A 62-year-old woman was found dead in her house in the town of Idar Oberstein in Germany.
Okay.
Right.
I know. That's not in America.
Nope. I was like, let me tell you that after the horrible pronunciation I just did. As she was strangled by a wire taken from a bouquet of flowers discovered near her body. So, ouch, horrible.
Jesus.
Nobody had any information of what might have happened to this woman, and there were no witnesses, no suspects, no signs of suspicious activity like in her house, just the suspicious activity of the strangling. So, but on a really bright teacup that was found near the woman who was strangled, the police did find DNA, the only clue that was able to surface at all. So they held on to it for years. The case went cold, given that this was the only lead, and all they knew was that it was female DNA, but there was no match. Then 8 years later, on March 21st, 2001, a 61-year-old man was found dead in his kitchen in Freiburg, Germany.
Okay.
And again, the victim had been strangled. And this time, the same woman's DNA was found on a kitchen drawer. Similar method of killing and an exact match for the DNA had police believing, okay, this is a serial killer. It's the same person, but 8 years apart. Then, following that gap of 8 years, this woman's DNA started to show up everywhere. 5 months after the second murder scene, her DNA showed up on a discarded heroin syringe after a 7-year-old had stepped on it in a playground in a city in Germany. A few weeks later, it showed up on an abandoned cookie in a burglared caravan near Kreuznach, is what we're going to say.
Sure.
And it was like she had deliberately like spit out the cookie and was like, this is my calling card, keep finding my DNA on things. So like things are getting weird. It was also found in a break-in in an office in another city I can't pronounce, Ditzenbach. It was in an abandoned car stolen in Heilbronn, and on 2 beer bottles and a glass of wine in a burglared bar in Karlsruhe. And so it was like she'd robbed the place, but stuck around and had a pint. So everyone is like, what?
Who is this mystery woman and why is she spitting on everything?
And why is she spitting on every damn thing? So how are we going to find her? So then there's the even weirder case of there was a May 6th shooting in 2005. A man shot his own brother. So it's like open shut case, like they know who did it.
Right.
But they were still doing their due diligence, and they like when they went into the scene, I guess they swabbed a couple of things, and the woman's DNA was found on one of the bullets that shot the brother. So they were like,
okay, is the DNA coming from one of the forensic people?
Well, sort of.
Okay.
Over this crime spree where DNA is sprayed across 40 crime scenes in Austria, southern Germany, and France with robberies, armed robberies, murders, you name it. Police were, I guess, thinking at the time, because they didn't come to the conclusion that you did, that, oh, well, she must just be working with accomplices. Like she's involved, but nobody's giving up her name. She's the crime boss, apparently. That's what they were going with. So she was dubbed the woman without a face, or the Phantom of Heilbronn. And witnesses would describe the suspect as a woman, but other people would say, but I think she was with a man. Like a whole story was made up about this woman, even though nobody actually saw her. It was more fun to have a story. And then finally in 2009, the case got a new lead and was finally closed for good because there was an embarrassing realization that this notorious serial killer in Germany actually did not exist. Police in France had discovered the burned body of a man believed to be from an asylum seeker who went missing in 2002. And during his application, the man had submitted fingerprints, which the police used to try and confirm his identity. But once again, they found DNA of this phantom woman. And they were like, okay, now this really doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like, this is impossible. This asylum seeker was a man and the phantom's DNA belonged to a woman. So what is this all about? So sure enough, testing the DNA again, they found that the phantom's DNA was not there. It was just the man's. And they were able to see that it all came down to the swabs that they were using. It wasn't even the forensics people. It was the woman who worked in the swab factory who was putting the swabs into their casing. She wasn't wearing gloves and she was contaminating them with her fingers and her spit.
That is so frustrating. Now, was she instructed to wear gloves and not spit on the swabs?
That is unclear. I don't think anyone knows that like fully from the story what happened, but basically the factory making these is like in some deep doo-doo for contaminating.
No shit.
16 years of tracing a phantom female serial killer, and it was just the woman who was like packaging the swabs.
Oh my God.
I was like, I cannot believe.
So furious.
I know. I was like, I had never heard of that, and I had to tell that tale taught to me by a TikToker.
Well, let's move on to science, because we are going pretty long. But this year, science, we discovered so much more about space. We learned more about how it works. We learned more about how much space there is. We got clearer images thanks to the James Webb Telescope. We shot an asteroid out of its trajectory. It was a dope year for outer space.
Dope as
But
hell.
my favorite thing our scientists learned in 2022 was actually about one of my favorite creatures right here on Earth. So, in 2022, we found out that fungi talks, and that one day we may even be able to talk back.
Yeah. That is so exciting.
What?
I want to talk to fungi.
I would love to talk to fungi. I have a lot of questions.
I have a lot of questions for sure.
We've known for a while that fungi uses electricity to communicate with itself, but this year we learned a whole lot more. So fungi exhibit oscillations of extracellular electrical potential that we can actually read and record by using electrodes inserted into the fungi itself or into something that has been colonized by mycelium. Researchers noticed that these spikes had patterns. For example, a spike duration would vary from 1 to 21 hertz and had a amplitude from 0.03 to 2.1 megavolts. And these spikes were always clustered into trains, like words in a sentence. So
interesting.
If we are to assume that spikes of electrical activity are used by fungi to communicate and process information in their networks, we can then group the spikes into words and they would form sentences.
Oh my gosh.
They were able to demonstrate that distributions of fungal word links actually match that of human languages throughout history.
I feel like this is a rival, but with fungi.
What?
We're communicating with the fungi.
And
How?
that certain species of fungi have more complex sentences than others.
Oh, some are a little smarter.
Now, some scientists are skeptical that these spikes are forming language, that possibly they are meaningless byproducts of physical processes. But the fact that the spiking events appear to be random, like they don't appear to be random. They don't appear to just like happen out of nowhere, happen when there's a stimulant of some kind. And that mushrooms do so many other amazing things, like communicating with trees and plants and helping to reroute nutrients from one plant to another when necessary. It certainly seems like it's all working together to do something big.
Right.
And just because we may never be able to translate or communicate back doesn't mean that they aren't literally just chatting away under there. Okay.
They're all just having little combos when we're not around.
And I think the reason that I love this one so much, aside from being, just obsessed with fungi, love fungi, is because of that conversation that I brought up probably 10 times on this show already about the idea that the earth itself is a living and conscious organism. Oh, yeah. Because, fungi covers every single surface and operates the same way our human brains do. It's Earth's brain.
Yeah.
Fungi is the brain. Fungi.
Yes, we should all dedicate our entire lives to fungi.
Also, one last little thing, and it is connected, but it was released last month, so this is brand new. Biologist Janina Deal, who is a doctoral student at the University of Friedberg in Germany, has demonstrated for the very first time that ambrosia beetles practice active agriculture. They breed and cultivate food fungi in their nests.
Whoa.
And I think that's very fascinating because it's crazy thinking about how long it took human beings to figure out agriculture.
1000%.
And these beetles are just doing it.
They're just doing it. Nobody had to teach them.
And also, these specific beetles feed on special fungal coatings that grow into tunnels that they bore into old wood. And the stuff I was talking about before, how some species of fungi have more complex languages or electrical pulses, if you don't want to believe in their language. The most complex of these species with the most complex language happens to be this kind of fungi that this beetle is growing for itself.
Stop.
Fungi
Further
that grows
proof.
on rotting wood is the stuff that these ambrosia beetles are eating. So could this advancement be because of the fungi that they are eating? And also could that lend credence to the theory that we advanced intelligently by eating
Fungi, which we talked about.
Which we talked about
Oh my
in
gosh.
our evolution episode.
It was like, it's all coming back. It's all
coming back around.
Oh
the
my god.
Time is a flat circle, as Matthew McConaughey would say.
That was good, Matthew McConaughey.
But regardless, we are still studying these beetles
Right.
because we can definitely learn from them too. Because not only are they cultivating their own fungi, but they have developed ways to suppress the growth of bad fungi that they don't want, like essentially weed fungi, which could provide knowledge for us and insights for our agriculture, because we've, for all of history, had major problems with fungus and molds and weeds that are resistant to our way of killing them.
Right. Dang.
Pretty darn cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Fungi. It rules, man.
Just talking. Just fantastic fungi. Away. If you guys don't watch Fantastic Fungi on Netflix, if you watch anything on Netflix,
watch it because of you.
It should be Wednesday. But after that, it should be Fantastic Fungi.
And if you haven't watched Wednesday already, like, what do you?
Who are you? Who even are you? Why are you
watched
listening
it immediately? That is very, very cool.
Yeah.
My science story was the brain.
Yeah.
I told Ashley that after our biology episode, I've been like so fascinated at the brain and all of the different things it can do. So I have like
all
two
that
little
gooey jelly in our head.
That gooey jelly just rattling around in there. Yeah, so I have two just little shorties, but one of them I feel like kind of reminded me of yours, and just the way of like we think of these little things that exist on Earth actually like having the ability to communicate and figure things out. It goes along those lines. So a new study published in the journal Neuron shows that a network of brain cells grown in a petri dish can learn to play the arcade game Pong.
Stop it.
Demonstrating for the first time what the researchers are calling synthetic biological intelligence. The study was led by Brett Kagan of Cortical Labs, a biological computing startup in Melbourne, Australia, that is integrating living brain cells with computer chips. That's like what they're working on, is combining the two and seeing what happens from the like electricity that comes from that, and seeing what the little brain cells can figure out working along with the chip. So I know, first of all, they're trying to destroy the world with robots. Like, let's get that across. But
whatever you say.
Kagan and his colleagues cultured cortical neurons dissected from the brains of embryonic mice or human stem cells, reprogrammed into neurons on, this is where it gets very sciencey, on high-density microelectrode array computer chips that simultaneously can record the electrical activity of the cells and stimulate them. So they're able to see what's coming off of them, and then they can give them feedback with the electricity. So it's like a good way to study them and see what's going on. So on the chip, the cells mature and connect with each other to form neuronal networks and then exhibit spontaneous electrical activity.
Which is what happens in our brain.
Which is what's going on in our brain. Yeah. So they're just recreating it
in a dish.
On the little dish.
Yeah.
So in the experiment, researchers grew these brain cells, and then they connected the mini brain to the game Pong, that classic game of the ball bouncing back and forth on the paddles. Exactly.
Yeah.
Via electrodes, they connected it to the game and indicated which side the ball was on and how far from the paddle it was. And then upon quote unquote viewing the video game, the cells produced electrical activity and then received an electrical stimulus that gave them feedback on whether they were hitting the ball or not. So they could practice using the feedback and improve on their performance, which is just all crazy to think of. And they were able to learn the game of Pong within 5 minutes. And
I didn't even learn the game of Pong in 5 minutes. So feeling like this is a pretty rude experiment.
I'm dumber than these little cells in a dish. So the study shows that it just takes a single layer of neurons to organize and coordinate the activity and achieve a specific goal. Oh, and also they can learn and adapt behavior in real time, which that was even crazier to me. Like you learned and understood like, oh, what I did wasn't good. Let's go back in. Interestingly, the networks of human neurons outperformed those of mouse cells, which is consistent with earlier work suggesting that human neurons have a greater information processing capacity than those of rodents. It's like we've always known that and thought that, but
We've
this
always
could,
thought we were smarter than mice.
like, we hoped that was true. And it is, so we can feel good
Most
about
of us
that.
are.
Yeah, most of us. Let's not like
Not all of us.
generalize the human population.
Yeah.
But it was nice to confirm. And
Yeah.
now future studies are going to dive into why we have that capacity. Because yes, we've always assumed that and theorized that, but like there is bigger digging to go in.
Mushrooms.
But why? Mushrooms, ladies and gentlemen. And then quickly, the other brain story that I looked up, as if that one wasn't crazy enough, it's the age-old question: can people hear you when they are in a coma? That has finally been like halfway answered, because it doesn't apply to everybody. But Scientific American reported just at the end of this year, huge medical news, that about 15 to 20%, still working on that because again, there's a lot of details still coming in, of people in a coma can indeed hear what you're saying and process what you're saying, even though they're in a completely vegetative state and are not opening their eyes. So it's called covert consciousness, a state in which the brain reacts to the outside world with some comprehension, but the body remains totally unresponsive. And 15 to 20% of patients who appear to be in a coma will exhibit this kind of internal awareness when monitored with technology like an EEG or an MRI that is measuring their brain activity. And it is totally changing what scientists initially thought of what they thought of comas and unresponsive states in general, where they're like, oh, there's no activity going on. They would be able to have like slight motor function. We would see their extremities moving if there was something going on. But no, the brain can be totally active, even if they cannot actually move their body, even if that part is not shooting down to their arms and legs.
Now, are these people that they study, do they eventually wake up from their coma and can answer these questions?
Yes.
Oh,
and
no.
So I know. So that's why
I was like, maybe it's just a theory. Don't think about
total
it.
Theory. No, so it's like these
Great.
are people who they're detecting the brain activity in their brain, and then these people eventually woke up, and that is kind of the second part of the study. They had full or almost full functional recovery of their brain, because that's the other side of things, is sometimes people wake up out of a coma, but they have irreparable brain damage and they're never the same. And unfortunately, that is most cases, or you don't wake up from the coma at all. So it
or
is
you wake
still,
up and you remember nothing
you
and
don't
you think
remember
it's
anything.
like yesterday.
Right. And there is a mix, I should say, to answer your question. There's a mix. Some of the people are waking up and not, or either having like a partial memory or no memory at all. But the EEG and the MRIs are showing that when they're asking them questions, this is the cool part of the study. Not only are they seeing like sparks and awareness, like as soon as the question comes, but one of the studies was having a patient think about walking, and then a patient think about climbing, and then there was one other action. And what they were able to detect was the lines went to totally different levels, and different areas of the brain were lighting up depending on the action they were asking them to imagine, which made them think there was comprehension too. It wasn't just like, oh, I hear you and there's things going off. It was like different areas of the brain were waking up and like trying to do the action, even though their body wasn't moving. So the brain is crazy, first of all.
The brain is crazy.
But also it's a comfort for people who are like, can they hear me when they're talking to their loved one? And sometimes
I mean,
they can.
I fucking guess, because here's the thing. My stance has not changed. If I'm in a coma, I want you to pull the plug. I don't care if it's a, there's a chance there's only gonna be a 6-month coma. 6 months in this brain? This brain?
I don't want to be trapped in here.
With these dreams? No.
I know.
I'm not afraid of death. I am afraid of being in a coma for a year.
And having function of the brain, but being able to do absolutely nothing about it. Because that's the other thing.
Maybe you can test it. Maybe you can test it and see if my brain lights up. And if it doesn't light up or whatever, I guess you can like, no, I'm just saying, no, if it lights up, fucking end it.
No, I'm saying, if it's not lighting up. Yeah.
I'm in there and I'm like, if it's not lighting up, I guess you can leave me there. Because I'm obviously elsewhere doing my own thing. I'm out of it. But if I'm just laying there, no.
Yeah, because what a miserable way to be.
No, I don't have a will. This is my will.
This is the will.
My name is Ashley Nicole Cassidy. If I'm in a coma, unplug me. Don't want it.
This is my final will and testament. If you can see that my brain
I would
is
like my
lighting up.
cats to go to Joe Oakes, my husband.
All of my Halloween
Everything
decorations
else
go to
can go
Lauren
to Lauren.
Ogle. That's what I thought. Yeah, honestly, it does sound so much worse because that's the other side of things. People have compared it to locked in syndrome, which is where somebody can have their eyes open, but you can't
But you're
move or
frozen.
speak or do anything else. And those people have learned to at least communicate with their eyes in some ways and like
Yeah, they
kind
can
of form their own
communicate
language. Yes
by
and
saying,
no's.
kill me.
Yeah, blinking over and over and saying, put
Kill
me out of my misery.
me, please.
Where in this case, you have none of that. You just look like you're in a deep sleep. So it's almost worse to know that there is stuff going on. But basically, the cool part of this, besides Ashley's complete misery, is that doctors will hopefully, as the studying keeps going and we're learning more about it, be able to determine very early on if somebody has hopes of brain recovery or waking up at all. And as you were saying, it's like giving them an outlook for what the coma or the vegetative state is going to be, or if like pull the plug immediately, really in either way for Ashley.
Yeah, for me, like whatever.
But for other people,
send me to the stars, man. I don't want to be here.
for other people, maybe see if they come back to
there's
you.
hope.
Yeah, covert consciousness. So that's a new crazy thing. Yeah. Cool. I mean, that just in general for the world of science and the brain, that is crazy town.
It's so crazy. But
crazy.
It's also all the time we have this week for Keep It Weird. Genuinely, thank you so much for watching and listening to us this week and every week this year.
Every week.
We truly, truly love doing this show. And it's because of you listening and you donating to our Patreon and you buying our merch that we get to continue to do it. So thank you so much for all of your support and your friendship. The fact that even one person listens to our podcast every week, just like one person in the world listens to our podcast every week.
And that they enjoy it and want to talk to us is incredible.
It's just crazy to us. And I know we say it a lot, maybe too much, but seriously, thank you. We love you. And
we really mean it.
We can't wait to keep creeping you out for years to come. Hopefully.
Years and years.
I already kind of did my spiel at the beginning, but just in case you missed it, make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
So
we're going to be releasing
our mugs.
Yes, we're going to be releasing most episodes next year on YouTube. And as well as wherever you get your podcasts now. I think we'll probably end up releasing the video on YouTube a few days before the episodes release everywhere else, just to try and give our YouTube a little boost. But that is our plan. Please pray for us. Follow us on social media at we're on Instagram and Twitter at Keep It Weirdcast, but we also have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. There are two different ones. Do not tell me how to search for them. I do not know. I don't understand
You'll figure it out.
I don't understand the difference, but the Facebook page is essentially like our Instagram, where it's just like the stuff we post on Instagram. The Facebook group, everyone can post. We post memes, we share links to stuff, we laugh about things, we post TikTok videos. It's a good time. You can meet other weirdos and you can talk to us, and it's a lot of fun. So please consider donating to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast. You'll get 2 bonus episodes every single month, and you'll get discounts on merch, and you'll get a newsletter that comes out the last day of every month that's full of scary stories and upcoming horror movies and TV shows and true crime time with Lauren and weird news stories. Honestly, I would pay for this newsletter if I wasn't the one making it every month.
It's good content. It's good
content. I always read your stuff that you post in it, and I know you read mine because
I always text you about it.
You'll be like, oh my God, I didn't know. So like, it's a good newsletter. It's long, like it's totally worth $5. Okay.
Yep, I agree.
Sign up. And finally, you can find our merch at www.keepitweirdpodcast.com/merch. That link will send you to our TeePublic store, where you can get t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, tote bags, baby clothes, blankets, phone covers, and more.
Get your Christmas presents for your loved ones.
I actually do believe it's too late to order your Christmas presents, but some of us give Christmas presents late.
It can be
I'm
in
one
January.
of them. Yeah. Give a January present to your friends.
It's fine.
And our sign off today is Lauren's choice.
Oh, it's really rude of you. I don't have anything.
Don't stop. You're digging.
Dig until you find a go. And stay smarter than a rodent. And
eat honey roasted rats.
And
And keep
it
weird. Okay, are you ready?
Ready.
Yeah. Okay.
That was like the goats when they go.